The amount of oh, it looks like we're live now, so I should stop. We'll talk later, Bob.
Okay.
Yes, we're still waiting for, we need to.
Hello? Hello?
Yes, hello?
Mark, this is Mike.
Okay, Mike. Mike Adams?
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm having trouble getting my computer booted up this morning, so I couldn't even find a phone number to call in. So I called the MAPS office. They gave me this number and I got in, but they said I was going to be muted throughout, so I'm glad I figured out a way to.
No, I see you, and I've allowed you to speak, so.
Okay, the computer's coming up now, so I'll go ahead and try to get booted in, or booted up and signed in on that regard, but it may be a few minutes. Okay, thank you.
So it must be time to start then, huh?
Yes, you can.
Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Citizens Advisory Board meeting for April the 22nd, 2021. We appreciate everyone joining us. We have a few announcements to make regarding the video conference meeting. First, if the video conference is disconnected at any time during the meeting shall be stopped and reconvened once the audio-video connection is restored. If communications are unable to be restored within 15 minutes, items remaining for consideration will be continued at 11:30 a.m. on April 22, 2021 via video conference. Secondly, the agenda and documents are located on okc.gov. Third, to speak on a certain agenda item, please call or text your request in advance of the meeting to 405-205-4195. Include your name, the agenda item number, and the reason you would like to speak. Again, that number is 405-205-4195. Please submit your request prior to the beginning of the meeting to avoid receiving your request after your item has been considered. City staff will attempt to submit requests received during the meeting to process them to the meeting chair. Finally, to speak under comments by board staff and citizens, please call or text 405-205-4195. Please list your name, address, phone number, and the subject on which you wish to address the board. Now I'll ask staff to inform us whether or not there is a quorum present for the meeting. Do we have a quorum?
Yes, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Well, in that instance, we'll call the meeting to order. Item 2 on our agenda is you've been furnished with copies of the minutes of our March the 25th, 2021 board meeting. Are there additions or corrections to those minutes? If none, shall we approve them? Do you want to approve the minutes?
Tom, I'm waiting for it to pop up on PrimeGov. I would move approval, but I haven't seen a button yet.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not
Okay,
correct.
Bob Nalen has moved that we approve them,
I'll second.
and it's been seconded by Cecilia Robinson Woods. Is there further discussion? All in favor, all in favor, cast your vote now.
Yeah, I'm not seeing a button on PrimeGov to do that. It says voting not available.
I'm not either.
Shall we call the roll then?
Yeah,
All right,
this is Lisa.
call the roll.
Roll, if you're not seeing it, I see it on my end, but I can call the roll.
Please call the roll.
Okay, Tom McDaniel,
Yes.
Michael Dover. Mr. Dover, are you online?
Mr. Dover, you might hit *6.
Same vote, right?
Yes.
Michael Adams,
Yes.
Cecilia Robinson Woods,
Yes.
Bob Nealon,
Yes,
Pete Morales,
Yes.
they are approved.
The minutes are approved. Thank you. We're going to move to item 3. We have a good number of items on this. There will be a couple of changes that we'll talk about as we arrive at them on the agenda, but we're going to begin with item A. David?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is your budget and obligations report for the period ending March 31st, 2021. So on the revenue side for the month, you'll see that there's an actual decrease of $3,817, and this has to do with reallocations that we've talked about previously that come from the state. Fiscal year of $1,030,323 and total program $835,922,266. On the expenditure side for the month, $3,701,939. Fiscal year of $53,928,563 and total $732,909,806. Then you also have the budget and obligations report in its usual form. Not a whole lot of changes on that, and I'll try to answer any questions that anybody might have on either of those.
Questions or comments?
this is Bob, and let me ask David, do we have any projection of how much interest we will continue to accrue before we reach the final end of MAPS 3?
You know, I can try and get you something, Bob. I don't have that right now, but it's a little difficult because we can't even project our spending rates right now. I mean, I could come up with something, but it would be something that would just be a guess. But I'll get you a number for what we're receiving right now as of the balance we have, if that helps.
Well, it's really just a matter of curiosity. Obviously, we continue to accrue interest, and it adds the total that we have, but sort of a moving target when we're talking, taking excess funds and then moving them to other places. The number is different every month for what we have available to us. So.
Yeah, remember that when we allocate money, we obligate it. It's still in the bank and still drawing interest. Like, for instance, the convention center, you know, we obligated $160 million, but it was still in our account drawing interest. We've spent a considerable amount of money recently, so we're not drawing the kind of interest that we used to, but I can get you some numbers.
Okay, at least be a ballpark as to what we might be looking at.
Any other questions or comments? Shall we receive the report?
Did
I
that
move
show
that
up
we
on your?
received the report. It says voting not available.
Yeah, I'm seeing the same thing. Should we? I'll second the motion.
All right, my hearing was that Zane moved that we received the report and it was seconded by Bob Naylor. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, further discussion? Cast your vote.
Do you see the votes?
No, it's not showing, Lisa.
Okay.
We can't vote? All right, then call the roll.
Tom McDaniel,
Yes.
Michael Dover, Zane Boatright,
Yes.
Michael Adams,
Yes.
Celia Robinson Woods,
Yes.
Bob Nealon,
Yes.
Dee Morales.
Yes.
Are there any other advisory board members that are online that I didn't call?
Yes, Kim Lowe. My vote is aye.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
All right, the report is received. Thank you. That takes us to item B. David?
Item B is a construction progress presentation for the Wellness Center 2 locker room. We like to bring these to you occasionally to show you what's going on. John Simpner from FSB should be on the line here to give you a quick presentation, show you what's going on there. I'd like to turn it over to John.
Great. Thanks, David. This is a great shot showing kind of the reason for this. The pool at the Pete White Health and Wellness Center, you know, receives lots of large classes. There's lots of participation, and in turn, you know, reminds us why we're expanding the locker rooms, because that's for some of the larger classes. So here you see just an executive summary overall of some of the numbers. You know, it's a little less than a 3,600 square foot renovation. You know, we had a construction budget of $750. We had good bids come in. We already have had the first change order, leaving us quite a little bit of wiggle room there under budget. Today you're hearing the second change order, which is a $0 change order, but they would like 5 additional days. Below you'll see our proposed schedule. We started in December. We had some weather issues there for with the ice storms in February, but we're really starting to see the addition take shape. There, to the right, you can see at the top the original exterior in the area. Below, you can see it as it stands a few days ago. In the top picture, I'll note the way with a woman standing in front of it. Later on, I'll show you a picture inside the addition, and you'll see that doorway again. We anticipate in June the addition will be fully weather tight, and then in July we'll really start the interior renovation, and in November we'll complete construction. The next slide here shows you kind of the different areas. With the dark blue is the existing area that of the restrooms that we're not going to touch. The medium blue is the existing areas to be renovated inside the building, and the lighter blue is the addition we were just talking about. Go to the next slide. Here are two construction shots up on the roof. You can see our roof deck is in. You can see us disassembling the parapet wall there between the original roof and our new roof. They'll tie in. Next slide. Here inside of the new addition, you can see that doorway that I referenced earlier. And then below that is some of the demolition inside of the men's and women's locker rooms as they are today. So we're kind of cleaning out everything and getting ready to come back here in a couple months. The next slide shows kind of our future plans. The blue is the men's locker room. The red really shows you how much of that addition goes into the women's locker room and how large that will be. And to the next slide shows you a finished image of a rendering of what we anticipate that women's locker room to look like. And then on the right is that same view today. Our roof drains are going in, our seals are going in, the studs are up, the roof decking is on, and it's really coming along well. And with that, I would take any questions.
Questions for John? All right, if there are no questions, then let's move to the proposed change order. David, do you want to tell us about that?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So continuing on with the Wellness Center 2 locker room expansion, we have a change order number, sorry, I've lost my place here. Change order number 4.
Change order number 2.
I'm sorry, 2, Ward 4. Change order number 2, and this is just to make up for some time that was lost because of bad weather. This is a no-cost change order, and it comes with the approval from the subcommittee.
Everybody take note of this. This is a no-cost change order.
Yeah, we love no cost and credits.
Shall we approve it?
I move that we approve it.
Second,
Zane?
Billion.
All right, it has been moved by Zane that we approve it, seconded by Cecilia. Is there further discussion? Cast your vote. I guess it says voting not available. Let's call the roll.
Tom McDaniel,
Yes.
Michael Dover, Kim Lowe, Zane Boatright,
Yes.
Michael Adams,
Yes.
Celia Robinson Woods,
Yes.
Bob Nealon,
Yes.
E. Morales.
Yes.
Are there any other advisory board members online? Thank you.
All right, the change order has been approved. Let's move to item D. David?
Item D is recommend ratification and approval of addendum number 1, project M3-H002B, MAPS 3, Senior Health and Wellness Center number 1, additional improvements, 11501 North Rockwell Avenue, awarding contract, base bid plus alternates 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 to L5 Construction, LLC, $3,190,000, and approving contract and bonds, Ward 8. So very glad to be bringing this to you. This is a project that we've been talking about for a few months here during design, and this is for those additional improvements. Comes in under budget. L5 is a contractor that was doing the work that you just saw at Wellness Center 2, and they're also working out at the river. So very glad to bring this to you. This also comes to you with the recommendation from the subcommittee.
All right, questions or comments?
Kim Lowe.
Shall we approve it? Kimberly Lowe has moved that we approve it.
Second.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's now been seconded by Bob Nalen. Is there further discussion? Call the roll.
Tom McDaniel,
Yes.
Michael Dover, Kim Lowe,
Yes.
Zane Boatright,
Yes.
Michael Adams,
Yes.
Cecilia Robinson Woods,
Yes.
Bob Nealon,
Yes.
Dee Morales,
Yes.
Well, the item passed and has been approved. That's a big step for us. We're glad to move forward with that. Item E, David?
Item E is recommend approval of change order number 1, project M3-H004, project MAPS 3 Senior Health and Wellness Center number 3, 3820 North Lincoln Boulevard, increase of $135,325 in Ward 4. So continuing on with the Health and Wellness Center subcommittee. So this is a change order for some additional site preparation that wasn't anticipated. So there's two things here in this biggest number as far as the grading. So we originally talked about within the design teams building pad, and that building pad is the dirt that you pull out, that you dig out to put the foundation in. Because if you don't, it could be soil that causes shrinking and swelling of the soil and causes the foundations to move. So that's where you get the need to come in there and raise foundations through various methods, but it can cause all kinds of settlement problems. So this is to cut out a 40,000 square foot envelope that's about 3 feet deep and replace it with engineered soil that has no shrink and no swelling, or very little shrink and swelling. And then also it's the grading that was outside of the parking lot, outside of what the developer had chosen to do. And then there's also item number 2 is a small amount, and I really appreciate the contractor, working with us on this. We're still waiting for the developer to move get OG&E and Cox Cable to move their utilities out of the way, and it has delayed him as far as a start date. And all that he has asked is that we cover his insurance costs that he's had to carry for the additional 6 weeks or so. I can tell you that OG&E is out on site. They may be finished this week, and then Cox will be moving their facilities off. We get those poles out of the way and we can get started. So hopefully this will be the last that we see of that. But again, that's just to cover his insurance. So this comes with the approval from the subcommittee.
Questions or comments?
I would move.
We're getting ready for a groundbreaking there, are we?
Excuse me?
We're getting ready for a groundbreaking there, aren't we?
We are, yeah. There's a groundbreaking on May 4th at 1:30.
Okay. We're going to be breaking ground there on May the 4th. All right. It's been moved by Bob Nealon that we approve this item for Wellness Center number 3. Is there a second?
Kimberly Lowe will second.
Kimberly Lowe has seconded. Is there further discussion? Call the roll.
Tom McDaniel,
Yes.
Michael Dover, Kim Lowe,
Yes.
Zane Boatright,
Yes.
Michael Adams,
Yes.
Cecilia Robinson Woods,
Yes.
Bob Nealon,
Yes.
Dee Morales.
Yes.
Are there any other advisory board members online?
The motion has been approved and passed. Let's move to item F, David.
Item F is recommend acceptance of project M3-P006/WC0920 MAPS 3 Scissortail Upper Park 300 Southwest 7th Street, placing maintenance bond number 2 into effect and allocating $300,000 to project M3-P016 WC1000 SC1073 MAPS 3 Lower Scissortail Park. So recall that we did a final acceptance on the bulk of the park back in December when they finished it, but we still had the fountain and a couple other little issues out there. We wanted to get those trees replaced along the boulevard that were damaged by the ice storm. So we did a partial. Now that the fountain is fully functional, everything's working great, we got the trees replaced, we're ready to call the park completely finished, and this is to do that second piece. But then also there was some money, there was about $327,000 still in the account for the upper park. We'd like to move $300,000 of that to the lower park so we can use it there, leaving about $27,000 in there to wrap up any last minute things that might trickle in. And this comes with the approval from the subcommittee.
Any questions or comments?
Just that the park subcommittee is really excited that we're putting more money into the lower park.
Yeah, how great.
I would like a motion to approve.
All right, Kimberly Lowe has moved that we approve it. Seconded by Cecilia Robinson Woods. Is there further discussion? Call the roll.
Just confirming that was Cecilia Robinson Woods that did second that.
It was seconded by Cecilia.
She's showing up on the PrimeGov.
I know. Showing up on PrimeGov. I didn't touch anything, but I will second it. I don't know what happened.
Sorry, I couldn't tell if that was you or Dee Morales.
It sounded like D.
Or was it D?
I think a student came in and punched Cecilia's. All right, are we ready for a roll call?
Yes, sir.
Tom McDaniel,
Yes.
Michael Dover, Kim Lowe,
Yes.
Zane Boatright,
Yes.
Michael Adams,
yes,
Cecilia Robinson Woods,
Yes.
Bob Nealon,
Yes.
Dee Morales,
yes,
Motion passed and is approved. That takes us to item G on the agenda.
Item G is recommend approval of change order number 3 and amendment number 2, projects M3-P016, WC1000, SC1073, MAPS 3, Lower Scissortail Park, generally bounded by I-40, South Robinson, Southwest 15th Street, and South Harvey Avenue, Southwest 10th Street, and South Walker. Increase of $103,570.98, Ward 6. So, continuing with the park, if you remember, when we're digging in the park and when we dug for the convention center, there's all kinds of things in these areas that have seen a lot of change over the last century. So, the items on here are some storm drain modifications, about $13,000 of changing some storm drain around the basketball court. Some pavement replacement where some water lines, the water lines are really old in this area, and we plan on repairing certain pieces of it. And as they get in there and try and splice back onto or attach back onto that, sometimes more water line gets damaged because it's so old, and that causes us to have to remove more paving. Pavilion modifications is $25,000. So when we were doing the bidding, at the last minute, we were told we had to raise the finished floor of this one building a foot because of a flood study. Didn't have time to make those changes before the bids came out, but we acknowledged that, contractor knew that, and working through that issue, and this is what we've come up with for raising the floor for everything in that building that has electrical and mechanical. The patio area will still stay at the same height, but this raises that building up another foot. And then building permit, we had an estimate of building permit costs, and it ended up being $15,000 more. contractor gets reimbursed for that, and this is to make up for that difference. And then on the amendment, much like we did on the Upper Park and as I said in the Convention Center, we anticipated these things, finding basements and foundations as we're digging in there. And we had an item on there, so the contractor's already given us a price, and we had a plug quantity, if you will, just a quantity in there to get a price. And as they find more stuff, we measure it and apply that price. So there's another $27,000 for 180 cubic yards of concrete footings that were removed. And this comes also with the approval from the subcommittee.
Questions or comments?
Move approval.
Kimberly Lowe will second.
All right, it's been moved by Bob Nalen and seconded by Kimberly Lowe that we approve change order number 3 and amendment number 2. Further discussion? Call the roll.
Tom McDaniel,
Yes.
Michael Dover, Kim Lowe,
Yes.
Zane Boatright,
Yes.
Michael Adams,
I vote yes.
Cecilia Robinson Woods,
Yes.
Bob Nealon,
Yes.
Lee Morales,
Yes.
All right, the motion and recommendation passed. That brings us to item H, and we have, David has an announcement to make about items H, I, and J that he's going to explain to us together. David?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the Trails and Sidewalks Subcommittee did not have a quorum, and they really needed to discuss these next 3 items. Are very important as far as allocating monies to additional projects. So they've asked that we defer these items until they can get a quorum at their meeting and approve those. So what we're asking is that H, I, and J be deferred to the next meeting.
Carol, do we need to, do we just automatically defer that, or do we need to have a motion to do that?
I think we need to have a motion.
All right. I'm going to assume we have to have a motion to do that. Shall we defer these items?
This is Zane. Yeah, I move.
All right, Zane has moved that we defer the items. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Been seconded by Bob Nalen. Is there further discussion? Call the roll.
Tom McDaniel,
Yes.
Michael Dover, Kim Lowe,
Yes.
Zane Boatright,
Yes.
Michael Adams,
Yes.
Cecilia Robinson Woods,
Yes.
Bob Nealon,
Yes.
Lee Morales.
Yes.
Are there any other advisory board members online? Thank you.
All right, the motion to defer these items is passed. That brings us to item K, David.
Pardon me. Item K is recommend approval of change order number 2, project M3-T005, maps 3, West River Trail realignment, vicinity of West I-40 Service Road and Melvin Young Boulevard, increase of $11,797.19 in Ward 3. So several items on here that would consider routine construction type items. There's conduit and pull box relocation for some utilities, some vegetative mulching to be added to help prevent some erosion. There's a time extension, much like we did earlier in the meeting, at no cost because of the harsh weather in February. And then there's a fence extension along a property there, $3,250. So as I said before, the Trails and Sidewalks did not have a quorum, but those in attendance did recommend that we send this on to this group.
So, Mr. Chairman, this is Zane Boatright. I move approval.
All right, Zane has moved that we approve it. Is there a second?
Kimberly will second.
Kimberly has seconded the motion. Is there further discussion? Call the roll.
Tom McDaniel,
Yes.
Michael Dover, Kim Lowe,
Yes.
Zane Boatright,
Yes.
Michael Adams,
Yes.
Celia Robinson Woods,
Yes.
Bob Nealon,
Yes.
Bob Nealon,
Yes.
Dee Morales,
Yes.
The motion passed. That brings us then.
Lisa, this is Zane, and just to let you know that it has popped up now and I was able to vote online.
Mine popped up just after I voted verbally, so
Okay.
see what happens on the next item.
okay, we will try it.
Okay, are we straight on that? All right, then, let's move to item L.
Item L is authorize staff to purchase a Genie articulating boom lift from a city annual contract, project M3-C003, MAPS 3 Convention Center, $45,708.55 from Ward 7. This comes at a request from the operator. As it says, we can buy this off of city contract, so we don't have to go through the contractor, but bringing it to this body for permission to do that.
This was considered by the subcommittee and approved. Is there a question for David about it? It's been moved by Bob Nealon and seconded by Zane Boatright that we approve this. Is there further discussion? Call the roll or vote.
Lisa, I am not getting this on my dashboard.
Okay, so how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Robinson Woods, do you see this?
I see it, but it still says voting is not available to me.
Okay,
So
how do you
yes.
vote? Yes,
Yes.
thank you.
All right, that motion passed. That takes us then to item, is this?
M.
N?
M.
M, as in me. All right.
So item M is recommend approval of change order number 37, project M3-C003, MAPS 3 Convention Center, 100 McCornett Drive, increase of $95,756, Ward 7. So this is similar in nature to the last one. This is some items requested by the operator, but we could not get those on city contract. So we've asked the contractor to provide those. And specifically, there's a VPC network server, there's a point of sale touchless payment system, there's some food service uniforms, there's some drop over table linens, and there's some large and small cash safes. Then also, let's find my place here. There's some concrete curb wall enhancements. So out on McCornett Drive, there was one of those planting beds that extended up, and it just had the formed concrete side on it, and our staff and contractor didn't think it looked presentable considering what we're doing along that street with all the enhancements and the pavers. So wanted to do something different. The best that they thought to treat this was to use a cementitious board and attach that onto that wall. So there's $15,000 for that. And then you'll see item 3 is failed test reimbursements. So the contractor is responsible for calling all the tests that have to be done for compaction densities, all the various tests, and the city pays for those. But if they fail the tests, the contractor has to pay for those and reimburse the city. So this is a credit of $8,763 for various tests that failed. And and don't be alarmed because tests fail. This happens, especially when you're compacting dirt or something like that. They'll test the compaction, and if it doesn't meet, we get charged for the test, but they have to go back and rework it until it passes. So eventually it will pass, but we get credit for the test that didn't. So this also comes with the approval from the subcommittee.
Questions or comments for David?
Mr. Chairman, this is Zane Boatwright. I have a question.
Yes.
One of the items on the list was uniforms, food service uniforms. And the
Yes, sir.
city is not willing to pay that?
Who?
Did I hear right that the city was not willing to pay for that we asked the contractor to pay for food
No.
service uniforms?
No, we're asking the contractor to provide it through his contract, and we will pay them to do that. We had no other way of providing that item, so we've asked him to purchase it as a change order. Much like, remember when you walk through there and you see all the plates and all the silverware and all of that was provided through the contractor through the contract.
Okay, I understand.
David, can you explain what you can buy under city contract and what you can't, or why you can't?
Well, there's just certain things that are on city or state contracts that our procurement division thinks that are something that we will need during the year, and small and large safes or a server, and just some of those things just aren't on the list, Mr. Adams. So
you just don't have an approved vendor to supply certain items, and so you can't buy
Right.
it from the city. Okay. Thank
right.
you.
Other questions for David? It's been moved by Bob Neyland that we approve it, seconded by Michael Adams. Is there further discussion? Cast your vote.
I have to vote verbally. It's still not letting me vote, so yes.
All right. All right, the motion is passed. That brings us to item N, that I want David to explain to you. We're going to ask for some special action on this, and it requires some explanation. David?
So item N was recommend approval of change order number 38 for the convention center. It was $405,372, and it has to do with some handicap ramps. Considerable discussion went on with that project, and ultimately what they've asked for is additional information. So it was, I guess, deferred, and we're going to have a special meeting Monday with that subcommittee so that the operator can show up, and then we were also asked to provide some renderings, and that will be discussed again. So after that, we'd like to have another special advisory board meeting, and the reason why we can't just push this to next month is because contractors is quickly finishing the project, and we had long discussion about how important it was that Flintco do the work. And once you see the project, you'll see why. It has to do with removing some finishes and putting in some new ramps. And we didn't want to have another party in there, and neither did Flintco. They're very proud of the project, very proud of their work, and want to make sure that it stays at the quality that they've established. So I'm going to throw out here the idea that we have another Citizens Advisory Board special meeting next week. And I don't know how to go about asking what time. Is Monday or Tuesday?
Not Monday, but
Not Monday, so
Tuesday
through Thursday or Friday. Does anybody have any special issues with that? What I think we'll do is get Mark to send out maybe an email with 2 or 3 times, and we'll see who can meet at those times. But I wanted to explain to you, not through email, but verbally here, why we're having to do this special meeting. And hopefully, since it would be a Zoom meeting, that, you know, it wouldn't take a whole lot of your time that you already give to this project.
Yeah, I wanted to, just to underscore what David has said, our subcommittee had some real concerns about this, not that we object in any way to enhancing handicap accessibility, but we already comply with the requirements of the Americans with Disabilities Act, and we have been approved and certified to open the building. And the operator, as you can see from the previous 2 items, we've been very cooperative with them. Virtually everything that they've asked us to do to enhance their ability to operate the convention center, we have wholeheartedly supported and approved and brought quickly to you. In this particular instance, there was some angst on the part of the subcommittee because the operator was fully involved in the planning of the convention center and in the design of the convention center. And it was, I'd say, at least somewhat of a surprise to us that they came to us asking for these ramps. I guess the question that the subcommittee asked is, where were you when we were designing the building? Because they're asking us to tear out some seating. They're asking us to tear out some things that will require the building being under construction for another 6 months or something to accommodate this request, which sounds simple, but as you can see, from $405,000 is a fair amount of work and design. They are working with Populous and others and with the staff, but there was at least enough concern on the subcommittee's part that we wanted them to come in and explain to us where they've been all this time and why we're being asked to tear things out now after they participated in the design, and make sure that there is a cost expenditure benefit. And so as a result of that, we did not act on this in our meeting on Tuesday, and they will be coming in to meet. We will have a special meeting at 2 o'clock on Monday for them to explain this to us, because it is with some chagrin that we tear out some of the beautiful work that's already been done there to do this, and we just want to make sure that it's required. We obviously want to have this, we want to accommodate wheelchairs and handicapped people in every possible way, but we want to understand that with spending this amount of money that we're getting what we bargained for. So that's kind of the purpose of the special meeting on Monday, and the timing is tricky for us, so we would really appreciate you all trying to make an effort to act on our recommendation sometime later in the week, but we're going to meet on Monday to get to the bottom of this.
So ultimately, we need to strike this item.
So we'd like to strike this from today's agenda, and then we're going to delve into it in more detail, and we'll bring you a recommendation when we can get together next week.
This is Bob, maybe something for discussion next week, but will there be additional cost to Populous in terms of the architectural work that they have to do, or is this the sum total of the change that would be required?
Well, so far, Populous has been very cooperative and has already done some design work. We may have to do a little bit for them as far as what they've done, but I don't think it'll be substantial.
Okay.
Anyway,
I have a question.
Yeah.
Will the special meeting notice come out to everyone so that we can all participate in at least listening to this discussion, so that when the advisory reconvenes for a special meeting to vote on it, we're all up to speed?
Yes, ma'am, it'll come out just like it always does.
Okay,
That's a great idea, Kim.
Thank you.
Love to hear any of you that want to sit in on the meeting on Monday at 2 o'clock. We had a spirited discussion, to say the least. So, anyway, that's why we're asking to strike it. So, does that require a motion?
No.
All right, does not require a motion. Let's move on to O, item O.
Tom, this is Zane. If
Yes.
I'm not mistaken, that if we have more than 6 members participate in a subcommittee member, then that's considered a MAPS advisory board meeting.
Yes.
We cannot do that. And it goes back to the first couple of years when we had 6 or 7 people show up for a groundbreaking or something like that. That was considered a MAPS advisory board meeting, and we were advised not to do that.
Yes.
So I don't know that all of us can attend that subcommittee member. There are some.
Mr. Boatwright, that's a good point. We will post it such that all of you can.
Okay.
All right, we'll deal with that. You're right, Zane. That's a very good point. And right now, I'm the only board member that's on that subcommittee. Sue is off now. So, but we'll deal with that when we see how many want to come in. But thank you for pointing it out. It's a very good point. Okay,
I have a question.
All right, let's go to item O.
I think Mr. Adams has a question, Tom.
Oh, Michael Adams, you have a question?
Yeah, just from a similar comment. What are the notice requirements for a special meeting? When we have to post those meetings a week in advance or something?
Yeah, it'll be posted today. Mark will take care of all that and make sure it's all legal.
Okay, appreciate it. Thank you.
That's one thing Mark does around here, make sure we're legal.
And does it very well.
One of the many things.
All right then. Thank you for your cooperation. Item O?
Item O is recommend approval of change order number 5, project M3-R008, MAPS 3 Whitewater Facility, second floor renovation, 800 River Sport Drive, increase of $71,892.70. Ward 7. So this is a change order, some construction things with the exception of one. So we've got additional electrical outlets that was requested by the operator, 28,000. There's a equipment room revision. So this room that we had up there on the second floor was really just a receiving room where the dumbwaiter came up and would deliver food, and they could take it out into the meeting rooms. They've asked that we enhance that some so that it'd be really kind of a food prep area and staging room. There's some additional river rock landscaping, less than $2,000. The only non-typical construction kind of thing is a robotic pool cleaner. So if we continue to try and get the filtration wrapped up and get it out, it's going to be end of the season, into the fall before we get that constructed and up and running. So operators asked that we purchase this robotic pool cleaner. It's very similar to what you might have if you have a pool at home, has the tentacles out and helps move the dirt that settles and collects it. So we think this is a good interim alternative to try and keep that water cleaner than what it has been.
Questions or comments for David? Shall we approve it? Michael Adams has moved. We approve it. It's been seconded by Kimberly Lowe. Is there further discussion? Cast your vote.
This is Mike Dover. Can you all hear my vote?
Not until now.
I don't know what's been going on, but I'm glad you can hear it on this one. Thank you.
How do you vote, Mr. Dover?
Yes.
All right, the recommendation has been approved. Let's move to item P.
Item P is recommend the use of excess MAPS 3 Transit Modern Streetcar Signal Prioritization Funds to assist with streetcar traffic signals at South Harvey Avenue and Oklahoma City Boulevard not to exceed $150,000. Pardon me. So recall that we have authorization for some money that still exists out there for signal prioritization. I probably could have just gone ahead and spent this, but I want to make sure everybody knew what we were doing. And it's a bit of an unusual route that we're going. So we're going to participate with Public Works on the traffic signals at Harvey and the Boulevard. And if you've been by there, right in front of the cafe on the park, you know that there's barricades still up. Public Works intends to open that street back up, and there needs to be some specialized signals for the streetcar since it goes through there. And we're going to participate in that to make sure that the streetcar has prioritization and continues to keep on its path and its schedule. So that's why I've brought it here to this group.
Questions for David or comments?
Kudos.
All right, Zane has moved that we approve it. It's been seconded by D. Morales. Is there further discussion? Cast your vote.
Hey, Mark. I need to share my screen. Do you have any so I can share my screen?
Mr. Dover, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you.
Your co-host, yeah.
The motion has passed. That brings us to item Q. David?
So item Q is presentation on the MAPS 3 excess funds expenditures. This is something that Mr. Adams asked for us to do. And I am trying to figure out, Mark tells me that I can share my screen, but it's not letting me. So bear with us here a minute. It says you cannot modify the amendment sharing motion to do so without further.
The time while we're waiting for David and Mark to get that worked out, I just out of idle curiosity, how many of us are fully vaccinated now? That's COVID-19.
I am fully vaccinated.
I am too. My wife and I are.
As well.
Is it showing up on your screen?
Yep. Well, it
That's
did.
when we start meeting in person.
Did you?
Is it showing up?
No, not now.
It did for a moment.
Yeah.
It flashed up on my screen for just a second and then went away.
David, I can share my screen if you want me to.
Back up.
No, but Carrie.
David, I can share my screen if you want me to.
Okay, I guess we'll have to do that. Isn't this technology great?
Gotta love it, gotta hate it.
I hate it more than I love it.
You guys just relax. I'm working on this.
Okay, Carrie, can you set it to run, or are we going to just have to look at it that way?
Can you see it? What are you seeing?
We're seeing it as if you were getting ready to start it as a slideshow. Can you start it as a slideshow? If not, that's okay. It would just be prettier. And I would hate technology less.
I know, I'm trying.
Okay, well, just go to the next slide.
Can you see that?
It hasn't changed yet. We can see the presentation. It just, there you go.
All right.
So I'll go ahead and get started here. So the original implementation plan budget, we always call it $777 million, but the actual number is $1,000 short of that. It's $776,999,000. Then you can see that the excess collections was
54
million. You lost a page, Kerry. Go back to the second page. Second one.
Yeah. Nope.
Up one.
What did you say, David? I'm sorry. Somebody was talking to me. Do you want the next one?
No, I want the second one, the very first one you were on, that one. So $54,749,555 excess collections. So it gives us the current budget that you've seen on the financials of $831,748,555. So go to the next slide, Kerry. I want to remind everybody to keep this in context. So you're going to see things on here that you wonder, well, why did we do that? But put yourself 10 years ago on what was going on. So one thing in particular, so here's the convention center, $252 million. There was $36 million added to it. So $30 million was that substation. But at the time that this was added, we were looking at the convention center on the Bob Howard site. And we were worried about the convention center and the streetcar construction time. So there was $5 million added at that time to go ahead and extend the exhibit hall underground underneath Hudson to get underneath the streetcar so that the timing would work. And then there was another $1 million added to screen the substation because of the park. So that's how we got to the $36 million. And now advancing on through the years, there's $5 million here that because we didn't know where else to put it in the program, we added it to the convention center, but it's for the district garage over there. If you recall, we contributed to that. So this is what I'm talking about. You got to put everything in context. And then the $15 million here recently was taken out of the convention center budget and put in other projects that you'll see in a minute. So there's current budget on the convention center of $278,059,000.
David, can I ask a question real quick?
Yes, absolutely. I was going to say, as we go along on each of these projects, if you've got questions, it'd probably be easier to do it then.
Sure. Back on the previous slide where we had the 55 million in excess collections, does that include the interest burn?
Yes, it does.
So it's excess collections and interest was 55 million?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay, Kerry, go to the next slide. State Fairgrounds, pretty simple. There was $58 million, and we've added the $9 million recently, and that's to work on the maps for Coliseum. So now we have a budget of $67 million. Next slide. Next slide is just a summary of Wellness Center, and I've got individual slides, but you can see that it's gone from $52 million to $64 million in totality. So go to the next slide, Kerry. Wellness Center 1 had a budget of $11,700,000. Several allocations to this one. So when we awarded the contract, we needed $599,000 so we could award some alternates. And we, if you remember, we had a bidder issue, and we ended up awarding it to the second bidder. So there was a little bit of money in that. Operator asked for some FF&E, $159,000. And then the $3.5 million that you see there is for the very projects that we just approved today, for the additional gym and the corridor and the meeting rooms and the locker room renovations. And then the $975,000 was added to that so that we could continue that program. So that brought that project up to $16,969,000. Next slide. Wellness 2 was $12,795,000. Remember that these differ because they're adjusted for inflation throughout the implementation plan, so they're going to be different numbers as far as the base. Because we moved the parking lot and moved the tennis courts, the district had us build $523,000 parking lot, and then there was some additional FF&E and some improvements, $444,000 added to that project, the original project. And then that $1 million is the project that you saw the update on today, the locker room expansion. So that brings Wellness Center 2 up to $14,763. Next slide. Wellness 3 that we talked about a little bit today, so $13,623,000. There was $500,000 added just because it had lagged so long in the plan trying to get it up. And then there was another $1.8 million added because of the improvements that the other two had gotten as far as locker rooms. So really just to square it up with the other projects. So $15,923,000. Next slide. Wellness 4, $14,231,000. There was $2.2 million added. It's $500,000 more than the previous one because of the parking issue, that there's fear of adequate parking, and that's why that was added to that. So it's up to $16,431,000. Next slide. And this one might be the most complicated, but pretty straightforward. $132 million. Whenever we awarded it, we were over budget a little bit, plus we wanted to award all the alternates. I think that in hindsight, this is definitely one that we can say we are certainly glad that we did, since the park turned out so good. $5.7 million at that time. And then you'll see the excess collections of $18 million and $1 million. That'll be more clear in the next slide. That has to do with Union Station. So go to the next slide, Carrie. So the Upper Park received the $5.7 million, as I just said, for the alternates and the base bid, so we get where we wanted. Then we added $377,000. If you remember, in 19, it rained and rained and rained and rained and rained. And that was so that we could get the schedule accelerated, that we paid for overtime work, weekend work, to get caught up on the schedule so that we could open it when we did. So that brought the current Upper Park budget up to $101,000. Then you can see the $19 million that was added for Union Station, and then the $1.755 that was taken from that to award the Lower Park. And then you can see the Lower Park number of $36,795,000, and then that $1.755 from the Union Station to give it $38,550,000. Next slide.
That was the other $300,000 today that were allocated from Upper Park to Lower Park.
Right. Yeah, this doesn't reflect that. So then at the Oklahoma River improvements, $57 million. There was $786,000 added to that program to do that east pedestrian bridge. It's been very handy as far as operating the facility. There was another $759,000 that was granted by council for their startup and operating expenses. And then the $7.9 million was during the excess collections and contingency that was given for the various improvements, some of which that we talked about today, the second floor renovation and the filtration, and then hopefully we'll do a couple more projects. So that brings the river up to $66,661,000. Next slide. Streetcar had several things, $128 million to start off. And then when we moved, again, this is content or just remembering where we were context-wise. When we moved the convention center, after they'd already established the route, down to where it is now, we needed to loop it around so that it got close to the convention center. So there was $3 million added to move that alignment. And then, as we got close to the end of the contract for the streetcars, we added $4 million so that we could buy that 7th car. And then there was another $3 million and $700,000 for various equipment and spare parts, and some of it has to do with like the signal prioritization that we talked about today was the $700,000. So those items are in there. We still have some of that money. We're still buying spare parts and funding various things for the streetcar. So that brought the streetcar up to $139.5 million. Next slide. Trails has been pretty self-sustaining. It's done really well. We built the trails that we were authorized to build and had excess money, and that's continued today when you heard me say that they're still voting to figure out where we're going to spend that extra money. So we're in really good shape with the $39.5 million on trails. Next slide. And sidewalks, there was $9,190,000. Early on, we knew that that wasn't going to be enough, and early on, council authorized an additional $9,000. So we have $18,190,000, most of which has been spent. I think that we still have about $1 million, and that we're in design now to build the last bit of sidewalks. So, Mr. Adams, I hope that answered your questions, and I hope that was informative to the group.
All right, questions for David?
It was very good, David. Thank you. So I guess the conclusion is, how much of the 54 million in excess collections has not been allocated out? Yeah, and what's left, I guess, in the budgets of the various projects?
Yeah, well, whenever we did that last allocations, it was all allocated. Now there's still some that trickles in here and there, and I can give you an actual accounting. I'm sorry I don't have that at my fingertips right now, but I can tell you that there's $5 million that we're holding within the convention center that we were told to keep, in the account, and there's a little bit in the account, but there's not any significant numbers.
That's on the convention center budget. So the whole 55 million in excess collections have been allocated out?
Most of it, the majority of it, yes, sir.
Okay, so we have 5 million in the convention center. We have the 4 million the trails is dealing with. Anything else left over?
That's all that comes to mind.
Okay.
You're right. I should have wrapped up a slide with the summary like that, but I don't think it's a significant number.
Maybe you can come back next month and just kind of wrap it up.
Okay.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
David, I just want to say this has been a great presentation, and to take us back into history, to see where it all began and how we got there is wonderful. I hope that the City Council and MAPS 4 can use this to see how to do a program right. So, well done. Well done.
Thank you.
The team have done a fantastic job.
Yeah, I want to thank Leo here in the office, our new business manager. He helped considerably with this presentation, and he's our numbers guy, so a lot of the thanks goes to Leo.
All right, well, thank you for that presentation. That kind of walk back in history is interesting for all of us. All right, that brings us to item 4. Is there any new business to be presented?
No, sir.
Any of the subcommittees want to make a separate report from what we've previously heard? That's item 5. David, do you have anything to add to what you've already told us about on your report?
Wellness 3 groundbreaking, May 4th, 1:30.
Yeah, Wellness 3 groundbreaking, 1:30 on May the 4th.
And,
all right.
And if you haven't also noticed, Robinson Avenue is open. The roundabout is finished. Very happy with how that turned out.
Yeah. the roundabout.
And Mr. Chairman, this is Kim Lowe. Scissortail Park, May 2nd, Cinco de Mayo Festival.
Yes, all right.
So, Mr. Chairman.
All right.
This is Zane
I'm sorry?
Boatwright, acting subcommittee for chairman for Trails and Streetcars. We did not have a quorum this week, but we had a considerable number of citizens that came forward and expressed desires for different types of connections for different trails that we had either disqualified in the past or not considered, and that is why we moved items H, I, and J off of the agenda. We asked the city to go back and take a look at those and see if maybe we missed something or if we wanted to change something that we would bring forward next month.
That's great, Zane. That brings us to item 7. Any other comments from board members? Staff? David, anyone on the staff have anything to add?
No, sir.
Lisa, do we have anyone that signed up to be heard, citizens, comments?
No, sir.
Okay, Mark tells me we do not. Then that completes our agenda. If there's nothing else, then we are adjourned. Thank you, and we'll see you next week.
Have a great weekend.
Thanks all.
Thank you.